Greetings all, this is Rasul Rabbi. I made a video a while back with Ellie Productions, and I made a mistake on one of the Sephiras. So in the Sephira, let's turn this down a bit. On one of the Sephiras, which was Hod, glory, I put as endurance, which is completely wrong. So for those who've watched my video with Ellie Productions, right, just to correct that for you, this one here is glory. So I thought I'd do a small presentation of who I am and what I do. So my title is Rasul Rabbi Rishi monk. I have a online Instagram page, so there you'll see some of my artwork. I do what I call sigil art. Those who are familiar with sigils will know that sigil art, or utilizing sigils, is a way of turning words into symbols. And what I do is I turn my words into symbols, then I sort of just go wild with it and sort of paint. Or you'll be able to see that orange sort of little sigil art there. So I post them up there. I also sell them for those who want to buy them. So if you want to buy some of my art, check Rasul Rabbi Rishi monk, and I can customize something for you as well. So I mean, let's get straight down to the meat of it. I teach mysticism and metaphysics. I've been studying kabbalah for about, say, 12 years, about 12, 11 years, and been teaching for about 3 or 4 now. I'm Yoruba ethnically, and I find that in terms of utilizing the Western mind, because I was born in England, utilizing the Western mind in order to understand African mysticism or African metaphysics or spirituality or spiritual practices, that kabbalah and Sufism are very useful tools for attenuating the Western mind to how Africans participate with their spiritual venture. So for instance, I'm not an Ifa priest, I'm not a Yoruba priest or anything. However, I find it very fascinating how we as Kabbalists can put the nuances of the culture and put the nuances of the quote-unquote deities or the orishas into the tree of life to try to make sense of why our ancestors and our people still today utilize these forces and principles to guide themselves in life. So I'm well versed in divination. I utilize cards, I utilize runes, and I also utilize dice. Just to make clear for those out there, divination is not, or does not tell you the future. Divination is a form of reading the electromagnetic spectrum of the earth and your electromagnetic spectrum, how they're coinciding, and seeing the best possible outcome if you carry on going the way you're going on. Now, when we use the word divination, it's quite loosely used, I find anyway, because when we talk about European, or when we talk about certain divination systems, let me put it that way, let me be not, I don't want to remove anybody from the discussion. So when we're talking about certain types of divination, it's strictly reading, right? It's strictly reading. Then there's other forms of divination that are, I wouldn't call them readings, I call them like profound prophetic, profound and prophetic forms of divination. And one of these forms of divination is Ifa. What I find about the Ifa system is that it's very numerical. It's got poetry, it's got mythology, it's got real life situations and circumstances, but it also has a remedy. So what you will find with most divination systems is they tell you what's going on, but they don't have a precise remedy in Ifa. They call it Ebo, which means sacrifice. Now, I know a lot of us are not too keen on animal sacrifice or too keen on the methods of our ancient ancestors. But from my own understanding, we need to understand that these sacrifices are a representation of the lower realm, a representation of the animal realm. So, for instance, if we didn't, if we choose not to participate in animal sacrifice, that's completely fine. But you would have to do another form of sacrifice, which would be your time and your space. So, whatever you want to achieve, you'd have to spend time, which is a form of sacrifice, and space. Also, if you're somebody who's a mystic yourself, then you may not prefer to utilize that form of materializing or ridding yourself of adverse powers or adverse circumstances and situations you may find yourself in. You might decide to go into deep meditation. You might decide to do some candle work. You might decide to do prayer. Prayer is very effective. You might decide to fast and pray, which is another form of sacrifice. So we need to understand that these systems are merely different ways of interacting with the Supreme Source and different way of interacting with nature. So what else would I like to discuss? I think I would also like to discuss what I offer. So I teach a 4-tier Kabbalistic course, and I'll be teaching other courses. I'm sort of writing the programs, or shall I say, writing the curriculum at this precise moment. So the first tier I call Introduction, which introduces you to the 10 Sephiras and basically what their names are, and that's it really, and a bit of background about Kabbalah. The second tier takes it a lot further, and we start discussing the spiritual entities we meet in each Sephir. So for instance, if let's find one that I'm quite familiar with. Okay, so let's talk about Earth right here, materialization. So for instance, the divine name for Earth is Adonai Melech or Adonai Haaretz, which means King of the Earth. That's the divine attribute of materialization. It also is rendered as the bride or the Shekinah, which it has a feminine aspect. The Shekinah means the feminine presence of God, and this is what the Jews utilize on a Friday when they begin their Shabbat. Friday evening, the female of the family is the one who does the lighting of the candles to invite the presence of the Most High or the Supreme Source of creation. So the entities or the archangels or angels or daemons or demons, because each one has opposites. We know we work with opposites, so let's not get freaked out here. The archangel is Sandalphon. The astrological planet is Earth, and so within the second tier we start getting into more detail about what are going on in these particular Sephiras. In the third facet of it, we actually start to work either up or down the Sephira. So I would ask you to do a specific task. So for instance, since we started with Earth, there's 4 colors associated with the last Sephira. Rosette, no, I think it's, no, not rosette. Burgundy, black, yellow, I believe, and brown. Burgundy, black, yellow, brown. If I'm wrong, someone correct me, right? I'm happy to be corrected anytime, any place. I don't know it all, and we'll never know it all. Knowledge is infinite. So yeah, and then the so for instance, we work up the Sephira, and I might ask you to do a task for each Sephira. So you may read through all of the Sephiras, Bearing in mind that in the second tier we also tell you what each sephira works for, how you can utilize each sephira in your psychology to bring or to influence a change in your thought processes, which eventually will influence a thought outside of you, in your surroundings, so to speak. So what you could do, or one of my students, because she sews, she am I saying the right word? She sewn, she sewed, I can't remember, but she put together, right? She put together a piece of cloth divided in four, right? That had each color. And for 10 days, because 10 is the number of Michael, she sat down and she meditated, and she literally just chanted Adonai Melech, or chanted Sandalphon. Now, she wrote down a list of the things corresponding with that Sephira that she wanted to have an influence on. And what I do is I set the task up for 7 days a week. So that way you get a long enough time to see that you've done it for 7 days. And the difference is because you have to write down, as you do these tasks, you have to write down the things that you do, and so on and so forth. So these are the things that we do. Get you used, sort of take away the fear of ritual. Because whenever you go into a Catholic church and you put your hands in the water, you do this, that's a ritual. For my Islamic brothers and Islamic family out there, when we do wudu, yeah, I mean Bismillah, right? That's a ritual. When we put our heads down and we hit the ground. And anybody who knows the science of that we know that touching your head to the ground has been scientifically proven to remove negative emotions and negative forces within the electromagnetic energy of the human being. Anyone who's Yoruba knows, you go into any shrine in any temple, first thing they ask you to do is put your head down to the ground. Or if you finish a ceremony, the next thing they ask you to do is put your head down to the ground in thanks of the earth, in thanks of the ancestors, in thanks of Olodumare, who's supposed to be, or who is the supreme source of all creation, either male or female. So these sciences all tie together. And then I do the last course, which, no, not the last, so we've done the first, the second, third, the fourth tier, which I call the advanced tier. So we've done the first is introduction, second is in-depth, third is going through each sephira, actually working out, doing tasks that represent each sephira, sort of working it either because some students want to work their way up the tree, some want to work their way down the tree. And what I try to do is give you the most easiest, the most basic things to do, because some of these things, like i.e. those of you who are familiar with the Golden Dawn and all the rest of the other Kabbalistic teachings and workings out there, you have to buy paraphernalia, you got to do this, which is not really needed. You could use everyday tools to work with your psychology and work with these divine forces and forms in order to structure your reality. But the main important thing is what I call the mystical ascent, or what they call the mystical ascent, and it's really about striving on a daily basis to live in the greatest or the highest form of yourself. To me, that's what it's about, to live in the greatest and the highest form of yourself as much as you can each day. We're human, we have an animal aspect, and that thing needs to be taken care of every now and again. However, if you can utilize that animal aspect for divine intentions or for divine workings, then you're doing what we call in Western occultism the great work. That's what they call it, the great work. They probably call it I think it's equivalent to self-realization in the Hindu chant. The Hindu system, Hindu chant. Now I'm going off where, please forgive me. The Hindu system, I don't know. I would say it's equivalent to self-realization. I wouldn't say it's equivalent to moksha or nirvana. Um, that's another topic. Um, so yeah. So the last one, the last tier, is where I start sharing, well, which I call the apprentice tier, which is why I start sharing um, work that I've recently uncovered with my students, and taking them through the 22 Hebrew alphabets, taking them through meditation, taking them through the tarot, um, and taking them through tools, life tools, meditative tools that allow them to work with their own psychology, and quote unquote, I don't like the word. I don't like saying master self or master yourself. Um, but there is some truth to that in terms of I would like to say that allow them to regulate themselves more efficiently. That's the word I would use, to regulate themselves more efficiently. Um, yeah. So I mean, I think I've discussed everything I feel I need to discuss. I've corrected my mistake in terms of Ellie's last video. So if you go to Ellie Productions and you see, if you type in Ellie Production Rasul Rabbi, you see two videos that I've done with her, and I hope to do one more with her. I don't know what the discussion is going to be on, but if you've seen those videos or you've seen that, then please, if you feel that there's anything you'd like me to further discuss or talk about, then go ahead. And if what I'm talking about sounds interesting to you, then just hit me up. I'm on Instagram, Rasul Rabbi, Rasul RASUL underscore Rabbi RABBI. So yeah, I won't be in London forever. I'm going to Nigeria soon, back to the motherland. So got a few projects over there. For those of you in the motherland in Nigeria and you're seeing this, I shall be there soon. If any of this sounds interesting, hit me up. And my little signature before I disappear, I like to put this up and say, live long and prosper, winning you peace, blessings and abundance. Amen.